I'm Andrew Sherman. I'm a Texas transplant who has always been in pursuit of art as a career. I've played in bands, pursued an acting career in Hollywood, but I found it behind the lens of a camera here in Dallas, Texas. I was born in New York, I've lived in Chicago, Los Angeles, Austin, but I love Dallas. There's a magical artistic scene in Dallas that mostly goes unnoticed to the outside world. This podcast is focused on what makes it so special and the people who make it thrive artistically. If you don't live here, and even if you do, you might not have heard of them. This is the Dallas Famous Podcast.
There's a place that I like to go where the sun sets fast and the night moves slow. A frame of mind and a frequency where the rhythm of life flows naturally.
This week on the Dallas Famous Podcast, it's Lauren O'Connor. Lauren is the president of Amplified Minds, the brand new name for Foundation 45. Lauren has spent her entire career working in the nonprofit world, dedicating her time to supporting mental health and creative communities in Dallas. With this major rebrand, Amplified Minds is expanding its mission and impact, bringing even more resources to those in need. Join us as we dive into Lauren's journey, the evolution of the organization, and what's next for Amplified Minds with its expanded services. This is a lot of great info with Lauren, so check it out. Here it is. Okay, we are at the Deep Ellum Community Center, Dallas Famous. I've got Lauren O'Connor.
Yep.
And she is many things, but right now the president of what is known as Foundation 45, but is going to be called Amplified Minds, and that's kind of why she's here to tell us about that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
So I've been a part of Foundation 45 since 2018. Be president since 2018, and then I joined the board in 2016. So really started off, the Foundation 45 was a tiny grassroots. We were a suicide prevention group that was created due to the deaths of Frankie Campagna and Adam Carter from the band Spectre 45. Those two unfortunately died within 77 days of each other, and the surviving member Anthony Dalabano created Foundation 45 to give back to the community. There was a lot of suicides happening, and we still see it today, unfortunately. And they wanted to do something to kind of get in front of all the unfortunate deaths that were happening. At that point, once a week group, and when 2018, when I took over, really wanted to look at it from a bigger picture and what can we do here? I mean, all of our services are free. Anybody can utilize them, but we see it with the creative community more. So we started with one group a week, and now we're up to 6 groups. And then, with the Amplified Minds, we're expanding that into offering individual counseling. We're also expanding into really diving into the diversity aspect, LGBTQ community, our creative minds, and wanting to start panels, working with the service industry. So doing all types of fun things. With this launch, I think this is going to give us the opportunity to really expand out. So I'm excited about that.
Okay, great. Let's back it up.
Yeah, sorry.
No, don't be sorry. No, this is good. That's like the mission statement. We got everyone's attention for what this is going to be.
Yeah.
But let's get to know you a little bit.
Yeah.
Are you from Dallas?
I'm not. Okay. I'm actually from Newark, Delaware.
Okay. So how did you?
How did I get down here? Yeah, that's just, everybody asks that. How do you go from Delaware to Texas? Yeah. Back in 2004, I had pursued college and wasn't finding anything that stuck. Really loved music. Wanted to get into the recording arts. And in a divine intervention, met an individual at an airport that said, "Hey, check out Media Tech Institute." And I was like, what's interesting about that is Media Tech at the time was on O'Connor Boulevard in Irving, and that's my last name. And I was like, well, I have to go now.
Yeah.
So went to school for audio engineering. So that's how I got down here. And then came down here for a couple of years. Kind of did the Lauren in her 20s toured. I call it the Lauren tour, where I lived in California and all over the place, but ended up back here in 2010. And that's really where I started the nonprofit journey.
Okay.
Doing all types of music related stuff. So I actually created the recording arts program for Girls Rock Dallas. Unfortunately, it's no longer around, but was able to, for 5 years, really create the programming for that and workshops and things like that for girls to get empowered for music.
Okay, so you're skipping so far.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. Let's start from the beginning. Because you're very involved in charity, not just this foundation. What how does that start in someone's life? Like, where do you get involved with, like, cause you have a career and you're trying to like make a living like everybody.
Yeah. So really the beginning, I unfortunately lost my best friend to suicide when I was 18. So that really opened my eyes, because I was like, I've never lost anybody to suicide. I saw the struggle. And being in Delaware, unfortunately, there had been an opioid epidemic. I mean, years and years and years. Like, they say it now, but it's been going on for so long. So I lost a lot of friends to heroin. So combined, that was really an eye-opening experience to go, well, all my people that are dying around me are musicians. And most of them are musicians and artists. And I was like, something's wrong here. So when I went to school, when I decided to move down here for recording arts, that was a big drive of like doing it for the people that I've lost. So that was really the beginning of my charity. How can I give back? How can I help others? How can I do what I love and be making impact at the same time?
Right. Well, so, okay, maybe I also need to find out about your love for music. Like, what made you go, I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm going to go to study engineering.
Yeah. So my father is a big music guy. And growing up, my mom was a disco. She actually went to Studio 54, true story. And my dad was a Sabbath guy. So I was in this household where music was all over the place. Like listening to, the Bee Gees, to Black Sabbath, to Deep Purple, to Barbra Streisand. I mean, that's where it really originated. And I remember when I was like 5 years old, my dad put out all the records, on the ground, like, what do you want to listen to? And in the middle was Joan Jett. And it was her Yellow album. And I was like, who is that? I want to be that. So really kind of, that's what motivated me at such a young age to be like, this woman, she's like just as tall as I am and strong, and she's created her own, did it her way. So that was the motivation. And then as I got older, all my friends, we were all into music, all types of music, from funk to metal to disco to, all of it. And I really engulfed myself into going to the vinyl stores. I mean, back then it was you had The Wall, you had Rainbow Records, and being from a small town, like the record store was a big deal.
Oh, yeah.
So really creating all that. And that's where my passion, how can I take music? And I don't want to be a musician. I don't want to tour. I knew that from a very young age. I saw my brother doing it. I'm like, no, this sounds exhausting. But I loved the engineering side of it, of really what's going on behind the scenes. And when I actually came down here for recording arts, like, I didn't even know how to put a mic on a mic stand. Like,
I kind of out of nowhere.
I just was like, I'm doing it. And I was one out of two females in the whole entire school that was pursuing that. So again, don't want to get too far ahead, but that's really where it originated, was from family, constantly listen to records. That's how we had our pastimes, so.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember those days where you would just sit and listen to a record.
Oh, yeah.
And multiple records. And
yeah.
I was like, that's like, the hang is not a thing anymore without that.
No.
Yeah.
And that's I still have a record player that I still play. And actually I have my dad's Master of Reality Black Sabbath record that we were talking about. It's 55 years old, and I still have the original one from the 70s. Unfortunately, he's worn the grooves out so much in it, so it skips. But, I have a lot of his old records that, it's really cool to have that.
Yeah.
And that was our thing growing up. Yeah. I mean, we didn't have streaming and all that.
Same. Yeah. So then I guess, like, that's not really a career that developed for you?
No, and it was kind of on the whim. Like, it was like, I was going to school, this is a full circle moment. Okay. I was going to school for psychology. And while I was going to school for psychology, I had a friend, my best friend, pass away of suicide. Then I was like, nope. Don't want to be a psychologist. This is too much. Like, I can't handle this. And then I was one of those, like, you're 18 or 19 years old. You're like, who am I? Now I'm lost. And then a friend of mine was like, yeah, I think I'm going to go for, go into producing. I'm like, how do you do that? And so she told me all about that stuff. So I started doing a little research, and I actually went out to San Francisco thinking, like, I don't know, pipe dreams, right? Not realizing San Francisco is like one of the most expensive places in the world. But, on the way there, I met somebody, and I was like, well, I can't afford $100,000 audio engineering school out here. And they're like, check out Dallas. Dallas has a really good scene down there. And so that's kind of, a very faded turn of events. I guess that kind of came from it. And then when I came down here, I just fell in love with it. I love the city. I still love it. I mean, 20 something years later, it's still,
it's amazing.
It's a big part.
Yeah. I came here from LA and I couldn't believe how cool it is. And it's changed a lot in the 10 years I've been here, but it's still pretty amazing.
And you're seeing it even now more. It's growing and growing. And even in 2004, they used to shut down the streets, and very similar to what they kind of do now. But they would have music festivals out, outside when it was Club Lemon. All the streets would be shut down. And I remember walking down and you would hear like hip hop and then, metal and and you still have that in a certain sense, but it was pretty wild back then. So it's cool to still see it thriving to this day.
Were you in the scene when Spectre 45 was playing?
I was not. Okay. That was right after. So I came down, and so when I was down here, it was from 2004 to 2006, so that was before their time. And then when I came down in 2010, I really wasn't a big part of Deep Ellum until like 2012, because I was trying to, I was living in Grand Prairie and getting my work and all that figured out. So everything that happened with Spectre 45 was right after really I came down here, and I kept on seeing the Heart 45s, and I'm like, what is this? Like, and then people would, tell the story, and you still see them down today, and how much respect that band still has. 10 years later.
Yeah, it's tragic all
it
around. Wait, before we get into that, though, let's just wrap up kind of your work stuff. So, what did you fall into when you didn't end up becoming an engineer?
So what I did was, after I went through that, I did live sound for a little bit, hated it. Absolutely hated live sound. Certain people are meant for that job and not made too much anxiety. So then I was stuck in that place of like, what do I want to be now? And then that's really where it was like, well, get into public service, get into nonprofit work. What things can you do and really build, start the experience. And that's when I came across Girls Rock Dallas. And then from there, it was one camp, and then I was with them for 5 years, and, taking my recording arts experience and applying that to, younger girls that are trying to figure it out. And then talking about drums. I was their drum instructor, and, just really seeing that empowerment. And I saw the magic in community doing that.
Right. Wait, so you play drums?
I do.
We skipped over your music. Let's talk about that for a second.
Yeah. So I come from a family of drummers. My brother's a drummer. My uncle's a drummer. And when my brother first got his drum set, I remember he wouldn't let me near it, of course. And I would hear him play in the basement, and I would sit on my bed, and I would just have crappy drumsticks and a pillow, and I would play along with him. And he obviously was way better than me and took it more serious than I did. But recently, over the last 2 or 3 years, I'm like, once I had, I have a daughter, but once I was like, I'm setting up the drum set, I'm getting back into it. Even I don't want to be in a band. I just like to do it just because it's a good outlet for me. And it just keeps me, a part of the whole process with the music. So, so my brother was a big inspiration with that, even though, I got chased off his set a lot. But it really sparked, me wanting to play. And I didn't want to ever learn guitar because I'm, small hands, and it wasn't going to work for me.
Did you play in bands?
I played with a couple people. I never toured or played, big shows, just because I was always so focused on the nonprofit side of it and the recording arts side of it. But it did help in sessions when I was doing audio engineering, how to set up a drum set, knowing, that's the most complex part sometimes of recording. Where do you put the mic for the snare and all of that stuff? So I think having that knowledge really helped. But yeah, nothing big. But I just like to play.
I think that's probably better for the world that you are not a drummer, because you put all this time into this other more important stuff. Not that drumming's not important,
right?
But the grand scheme of things. So, okay, so we'll get back to you're seeing these 45s. Well, actually, I guess we didn't talk about the work though. We skipped over that still. You drummed a little bit, and then you got into...
Oh, we got into marketing.
Yeah.
So, and sales. So I started just working as like an account manager. And I really went into creative companies. So I specifically, like one of the companies that I worked for created the Billy Bass fish, where you push the button and it sings.
They created it?
Yeah, they created that. It's actually in Irving. So they've been around for like 20 years. So I love, like, and it was Halloween and Christmas products that we would sell to retailers. And I was really a part of that. And then I started, I was there for a couple of years, and then I went to another sales job, again, children's toy and furniture. So I was going to Toy Fair in New York City and like getting to play with all these toys. So again, I've always been around creatives. And the most recent job that I have is behavior change marketing, where, we are promoting healthy choices. So we're not, do not do drugs or anything like that. What we do is fentanyl awareness. We talk about, what are the laws, I guess, with cannabis, things like that. So people are aware, and it's really beneficial. I mean, there's nonprofit and statewide agencies that hire us. So it's been, again, in my day job and then my volunteer work, it's always making an impact. And that's kind of how I've made a living, is how can I do what I love, make money what I do, and that makes me happy overall for the thing. So
okay, so now we'll get back to it. So when were you like hanging out, like you were just hanging out in the Deep Elm scene at that point?
I started coming down. I think 3 Links was not 3 Links at the time. I forget what they used to be called. But there was a lot of clubs still. Curtain Club was still open. So around 2012, I started to come down here more. And then unfortunately, I had a friend of mine in 2016. He died by suicide. And that was like really triggering for me, because it was like, this was a constant theme. I mean, for 15 years, I just kept on losing people. And in a weird turn of events, I found out about Foundation 45. Sean unfortunately had passed away, and he was a big supporter of Foundation 45. So I knew some of the people that they were starting to kind of put something together. And then I joined the board right after their Art of the Guitar event in 2016, and really kind of helped, based on the knowledge that I had, taken everything and said, okay, this is what we need to do. Like filing for your 501c3 is no fun, right? And, creating all that.
Up until that point, it was just these people with this good idea that didn't really doing it.
They
legit.
were doing it not as a nonprofit. Right. It was just a project of Deep Elm Community Association. Okay. So it was just kind of on the whim, once a week. So they weren't like official. When I joined, we made it official. And then 2 years later, Anthony had stepped down, and that's when I decided to step in the role as president. And then the Grace. Yeah, it was 2018. Okay. Yep. Cool. Yeah. So, and then bringing on Dr. Peter Thomas. Those that know, Peter is the singer of Slow Roosevelt, which was a late 90s, pretty big band down here. And so his focus has always been musicians and mental health, been a prominent figure of, putting our counseling team together. And I don't know how deep you want to get into that now, but that's really the growth of the organization, is bringing on licensed counselors from the state of Texas, quality care. And so he's been a big component of building us out for that. So, starting from something very small to seeing what it is now is an evolution of our hard work from everybody, from the original board members to volunteers, the community, businesses. I mean, all of it has really helped us grow to this point. Mm-hmm.
Now, I know, okay, so I guess you're going to have to clarify, because we were talking before we went on the air about the new stuff, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Has it always just been that? Have you already expanded the program?
It's not yet. So okay. What we did currently with Foundation 45 is we just provide free group services. Okay. So we have a group in person on Sundays, and then we had focus groups for the LGBTQ community and substance use. What we're doing now is something that we've never really highlighted, is providing individual counseling for those in crisis.
Oh,
So
I see. So it was a group, and now it's one-on-one.
we have group and one-on-one. So
Okay.
we're expanding that out. Again, we have a limited budget. So as much as we want to help everybody,
Yeah.
there's certain qualifications for it, but this is going to help people that really don't have the insurance, don't have the money. We'll cover up to four groups, four sessions by one of our counselors. And then, so that's the individual counseling side. And then with the Amplified Voices, which is a program that we're introducing, this is for the diversity. So this is our, incorporating panels. We have something with 24-hour Dallas with service industry workers coming up, as well as we're going to be doing some things with the DJ community. Apparently, there's a lot of overdoses that are happening in the DJ community.
Yeah.
So we're working on creating a panel here at the community center where everybody can come out. We're going to have, Narcan here. We're going to really start promoting our group. Hey, it's free, substance use groups every Wednesday. So again, bringing the community together and talking about mental health. That's really important what we're doing. So in addition to all the other stuff we're doing, we're adding those two pieces to it, and then growing that out. I mean, really getting into partnerships with some of the other local, national, or even regional music organizations like Backline, trying to connect with Music Cares. How can we expand this thing even further? And I think with the new name and, new rebranding is really going to help with that.
Oh, yeah. I think we brushed over that. Like, that's what's going on.
Yeah.
You're rebranding, you're renaming to
Yep.
Amplified Minds.
Yep.
It's been 10 years, and it's really just you're expanding and just feel like
Yep.
it needs a bigger umbrella.
Yeah, for sure. And I think based on also what is our services, like we are amplifying the voices. So that was a big part of it, is like, if we're looking in the diversity aspect, if we're looking into breaking stigma, if we're looking into, Texas being the last to have access to mental health resources, we wanted a name to really speak to that.
Yeah, reflect that.
And Foundation 45 for sure, is a big part of our story, and we want to keep that part. But looking at our growth, looking at us being around for 10 years, like, how can we make this even bigger? And again, still keeping the Spectre 45 and Foundation 45 is a big part of our story, will always be, even as we continue to celebrate the growth of that.
Okay, so if somebody is in need, like, what do they do?
So if anybody can come to our group. So if, say, for example, they want to come to our substance use group, they just need to join. There's no sign up needed. For individual counseling, it's a little bit of a different process. There is a form on the website that we have where somebody fills it out. It'll go to our director of programming, which is Janelle. She'll review it and then contact the individual and talk about it. If they have insurance, if they have a job, sometimes people need some help with just navigating the employee assistance programs. Like, people don't know that their jobs might offer something. So that's a big part of like her reviewing it. And at that point, it will go to Peter for sign off, and then we'll get you set up on groups or on sessions. So, again, we have limited funds for that. And that's a big part, is like, getting money for this year is like expanding it out specific for individual counseling so we can help more people.
Okay. And what about the diversity aspect?
So for the diversity, what we're going to do is just start announcing it. So if as the panels are created, we're going to post it on our website. We're going to post it on our social media. People just need to show up.
So that's just panels though for that.
Yeah, panels
now.
and workshops.
Okay.
We don't have a set thing figured out just yet. We want to do like a woman of color workshop, specifically to speak to, those in the community, marginalized, that want to have that connection. But we're also looking into, other different panels. Maybe those from the queer community want to get together and get the support. So building that out based on the needs of who's coming to our groups.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Just want to look at my notes here and see what I'm missing. I mean, is there something that you want to talk about that I haven't asked about? I feel like we covered a lot.
We covered a lot.
You're really good at to cover your bases.
And tell me what I'm talking. Like, that's the thing, is like I go on a tangent over here and then I'm like, wait, we go off. So let me know if there's.
That's kind of the way this podcast is. It's fun. My memory is not great, but somehow I'm able to like bring people back.
Yeah, I'm bad because I'll just be like, oh.
I don't want to get too political, but we're heading into a kind of a scary time for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Specific people. I mean, is there anything that you, like, is there something you suggest? Or, I mean, like, some people have so much anxiety and we haven't even got there yet.
I know. And that's a big part of why we want to expand our services, right? We are a safe space. And that's something I think over the last 10 years, our hard work, our counselors' hard work of building that trust within the, the community and beyond, people know who we are, and they know that they can come to us and it's confidential and it's safe. Going into the next 4 years, there is a lot of anxiety. There is a lot of uncertainty of what that's going to look like. And so what I would tell people is come to our groups and let us help you. Let's navigate this together because, again, it is a lot going against the LGBTQ community.
Yeah.
We're really trying to promote more of these conversations, whether it's a panel within that community or coming to our groups. Joseph, who leads it, is amazing, and he wants to do a lot more, throwing benefit shows and things like that where we can really, again, let people know that we're here to help. And again, utilize that we're free. Mm-hmm. Right. All the services that people can use are free. So speaking to these, underserved populations or these marginalized populations, that's a big part of having Lisa, who's our director of diversity and inclusion. Like, what do we do? How can we let people know? Getting into the hip hop community, getting into more of the DJ community, the musics, the creatives. That's a big part of our push for marketing this year. Getting out there. Mm-hmm. And I think once people know that there's somewhere they can go that's safe and they can afford it and it's quality, then I think that's going to add more to our programming.
Sure. Let me ask you this. If somebody's listening and they want to get involved to help, is there a way for them to do that?
Yeah, there's a volunteer form on our website. Fill that out. We're going to start, now that we've announced our rebranding, we're really going to, we have a community outreach manager, Courtney. Her job is to get the volunteers together. We want as many people to help out. You don't have to have any type of psychology or anything like that. We do a ton of events. We've partnered with many musicians and artists in the community. So that's our goal too, is like, let's table more events. Let's have a bigger, presence, not just in Deep Ellum, but beyond. Because, there's Arlington, there's Fort Worth.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's not a zip code thing, right?
Mm-mm.
Okay.
No, anybody. So what's cool about our services is anybody in the state of Texas can use it. So we have one in-person group here at 2 p.m. on Sundays. But if you want to join our Monday general support group and you're in Fort Worth, you can use that. You just hop on, click on the join Zoom button, and boom, you're there. You don't need to sign up. We tell people this. You do not even have to use the camera. Like, as long as you're 18 and you're a Texas resident, those are only 2 qualifications.
Right. And I'm just assuming that this is like a fully anonymous program.
Yes.
People, yeah.
And that's, again, a big part of the trust factor of working with the creative communities and musicians. Not everybody wants to know their business. And one of the things that the counselors always do is, hey, what stays here, what goes on here stays here. We need to be respectful of one another. And I think laying out those boundaries again, makes people feel more comfortable and they can open up. And, some of our groups here, I think on our Sunday groups, we see 5 to 7 people every Sunday that come because they've built that up together.
Yeah. I mean, like, I'll be honest, in 2020, I was like, I should go check out a meeting. And then I was like, I don't think I want people to know that I'm there.
Right.
So that's something maybe, I don't know how you get past that. And
that's why we say you don't have to, put your camera on. If you just don't feel safe or you don't feel comfortable, you could just put in, like, for example, Andrew, you don't have to put your last name.
Right.
And we make it just very clear, like, the requirements are you have to be 18 and that's it. Okay. And from Texas, but that has helped a lot of people. And our counselors have done a phenomenal job of making sure that safe space is there, that
I feel like we need to get the word out on that specific thing more, even because a lot of people that listen to this are not in Dallas. And,
right. Yeah.
So do you want to, we're going to have links, but do you want to shout out any websites or something?
Yeah. So our new website is amplifiedminds.org. All of our information is there, all about our history, all about the leadership team, all of our different programs, how you can donate. We are 100% donations. We're not, one of these big organizations where there's paid staff. All the money really does go to paying our counselors. We pay the counselors so they can take care of the community. So again, you're getting that quality care. So the more funding we get, the more we're able to expand out. We're able to do more panels. We're able to do do more different focus groups, support groups if needed. So yes, donations are always important.
Right. Okay, last thing, like, what do you want this to look like in a perfect world, this organization?
Ooh, that's a good question. And I'm a visionary by nature. My goal is to have Amplified Minds in every state. And partnering with the big wigs like Music Cares and some of these other larger organizations to be a part of that, so we can utilize their networking to reach more people. Our structure, what's interesting about what we do is the funding that comes in goes directly to our programming. Sure, if we get large donations, we're able to get paid staff and stuff like that. But really how we work it is why we've been around for 10 years. You've seen, especially during COVID, so many organizations went under and they just didn't, financially prepare for that. We shut everything down besides the counseling. So it was very important that we prepare for that. But going into that, we really I want to see this in every state. I have so many people from Delaware or some other states that are like, man, I really wish this was here. This would save so many people, especially like Colorado too. So that's my goal, is really, whether it's 2 years from now or 5 years from now, growing this out. I also want to create an on-the-road recovery program, which again, like working with Backline or Music Cares, where if somebody's on tour, right, and they're touring and they're sober, I can't tell you how many of my friends have struggled with sobriety while on tour.
It's the worst.
They can contact us and we can get them a network of, okay, you're in, I don't know, California. Here's some organizations, here's some AA meetings if you need it. Call us, or maybe even have somebody that they can talk to. Again, funding's all depending on funding for that.
Sure.
But these types of programs are what's going to save people. You're still seeing suicides happening on a national and local level. That's not going to stop until we start really giving it more available, free mental health services available out.
Yeah, no, it's... I have opinions, but...
And one thing that I want to add to this is the entertainment industry, we'll just say, is around, I'm estimating, it's probably low, a $50 billion industry. It's the only industry that does not have any type of mandatory employee assistance programs. So think about all of these, musicians, that they're touring. Their voice is their job. And if that goes, they don't get money and they don't have any mental health support to provide that. So you're seeing things kind of happening, within Texas too, of having that conversation of a mental and physical health because nobody has that.
Yeah.
And that's a problem. And I think that's why people, whether they take their own life or they have substance use issues, they don't have the capacity to get the help that they need.
Right. Yeah, that's the thing. It's like you want to make a change, but you can't do it alone.
And you don't have the help support. They don't care. I mean, the record industry doesn't care about your problems. Where's your album?
Yeah.
That's the pressures and that's a big part of why we focus on the creatives, because that there's deadlines. We know that burnout is real. You're touring constantly. I mean, now I think some local bands that I've talked to, they have to tour like 80% of the year to make any type of money, and it's mostly off of merch because you're never going to make money off of that.
Oh, yeah.
And so by the time they come back, they're tired, they've been burned out, they've been rejected. 2 people have shown up at their shows because they don't know who they are. So it's all of that, can really get on someone and cause them.
Musician anymore. It's depressing me right now. It is,
but it's true, and that's why I think
the reality of it.
We pull some data, just anonymous data, and the top 3 group populations that use our services. The first one is artists, the second is musicians, and the third is service industry. So our marketing is going to those populations that are speaking to them, right? Our counselors are doing a phenomenal job of speaking to that population. Anybody can use their services. You don't have to be a creative to do it.
Yeah, like I don't think I was clear on that until just now, that it's like you can just be...
You can use it. So over 50% right now is from the creative community. 40% is not. They're students or they're just people of the scene and they know that we're a trusted source. So that's a big part of the expansion too, is like, hey, we're here for these populations, but anybody can use us. That's why we want to help. The more people we can serve.
Right. Okay. Well, I'm glad that you're talking to us because we'll get the word out as much as we can. I mean, this is very, very needed.
Yeah.
Like very necessary.
For sure. And that's something too, like working with Austin, the Sims Foundation, they are a network. So they support us. We would love for them to kind of come up here and do some panels and things like that.
Yeah.
So you're seeing more organizations that really want to help people.
Yeah, I know there's like the HAM organization in Austin, but that's just insurance, right?
I think they just cover, and then Music Cares too. They cover the musicians.
Right.
They're doing a lot with the wildfires, which is awesome.
Cool.
Backline is another networking. They do provide some mental health services too. They're not in Texas though. I think they're in Tennessee. But again, you have the Mental Health Alliance where you can network, where you can call if you're a musician. So my goal is to really get all of us on a phone call.
Yeah, that would be great. I mean, we need to like, bond together, like the
and that will be able to expand us with Amplified Minds. Like, hey, Backline I know has our information on their website. We have them on us. Punk Rock Saves Lives. They're more of a bone marrow. You go to shows and you get their bone marrow and it helps people.
Wait, what?
Yeah, so I don't know. There's an organization called Punk Rock Saves Lives. And what they do is they go to music festivals and you go to their table and you do a swab. And what they do is save people that need the bone marrow if there's a match.
Oh.
But they're also very prominent on mental health. So they've been big supporters of what we do, Jarrett Reddick with Bowling for Soup. They're big, I think he's on their board. So Jarrett always supports both of us. So that's a big component too, is getting with these organizations that may not just be mental health, but it can help us spread. We can help each other.
Right. Yeah. No, I mean, it's great. I mean, I've talked to a few people that have ideas. You guys have been doing it for 10 years. So hopefully some of these idea people can just enhance it, I guess.
Yeah. And then contact us. That's a big part of too, of like the Amplified Voices is like, what can we do? Let's think outside the box. Yeah. Where is the need? And how we've always built out like our, whether it's the general support groups or if it's art therapy or whatever we do, what is the population that is coming to us need? People, the reason why we did the substance use group is a lot of people were struggling with substances. So we found a licensed chemical dependency counselor. She helped create that. And that's what we have. Joseph was like, the LGBTQ community really needs the help. So now we have Beyond the Binary. That's his group that he leads. So, and we're seeing that, we're seeing so many people. It's take time, right, to really build up our groups. Because again, to your point about trust. They don't, there's a reason why we're not a peer-led group is because we're dealing with a high-risk population. And we know that a lot of people are, struggling or suffering in certain areas. That's why we want to have professional care to make sure they're getting the right services.
Right.
So,
gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, this is all fantastic. I'm glad we're helping get the word out. You want to give the website one more time?
Sure. It's amplifiedminds.org.
Okay.
And anybody can go and check it out. We have all our press kits on there too. So if you want to download our information, we have, our resources. So there's a resource link too of some local, like 24-hour Dallas. We have some, homeless shelters, of those in the LGBTQ community that need housing. We have a list of resources that we're going to continue to add.
Great.
So just want to shout out, if you are a resource, please let us know. We can add it too. Because we get that a lot too. It's like, hey, I'm struggling and I need housing or I need Medicare. So we have MetroCare, which will provide low cost or free medications. So again, hearing what is the need and us building out on that. And I think that's why we've been so successful and been around for 10 years is you go to what the need is, So
well, I'm glad. I mean, I didn't even know all of this I'm glad that you're here to speak to all this. I'm sure somebody listening is like half of this podcast is probably like, and then they're like, oh, wait a minute, that is something I could use, so.
And that's the thing is, if you're a music therapist, let us know. Like, we're looking to expand into different areas. We have art therapy right now. It meets the last Saturday of each month, led by Andrea Davis of Dallas Art Therapy. And so she has a nonprofit that helps people through art therapy. So you don't need to be an artist. You show up and she talks you through, like if you're struggling, how to really pen it on paper. And that helps because it's not as creatives, we don't want to talk sometimes.
That's wild.
And so now we can actually create and help kind of process that.
Yeah. I don't have the info, but I know I had some improv, a couple of improv people on. There's like a improv therapy in the area. Oh, you know about it?
At Dallas Comedy House, they're big component, like very big supporters of us. So we're going to partner, I think, on some stuff too. I forget her name, but we're going to try to do something this year.
Was it Claire or?
It may have been Claire.
Yeah,
I believe it was Claire. And she came up to me at one of the events. She's like, "We love you guys."
Yeah.
So
they're great.
Look out for, the comedy aspect.
Yeah, because like that's another, like I feel like there's the whole stand-up industry and they probably don't feel like they're part of the music, but that's not a requirement.
No.
So, okay. Awesome.
And also on our website, you'll see like if you're an MC, or if you're a dancer, theater, photographer, visual artist, we list out and we're like, and then at the end, it's like, it doesn't matter, you're welcome.
Right.
Anybody can come, but we want to make sure that we call out those specific populations because they know hey, we built this for the creative community because we know that there's an absolute need for it. And with 24 Hour Dallas, they reached out and said, we're seeing an uptick in service industry workers taking their life. Well, we need to get on that, right? Let's talk through some, self-care tips or, you're working long nights. I was a bartender. It's hard. It's a hard business, especially now where people are not tipping or being harassing and, dealing with all types of personalities. So again, where's the need? Let's get in front of all of that.
Right on. Okay. Well, hey, Lauren, thank you so much for talking to us. This is great. We'll have all the links and we'll post all the stuff related whenever we see something come up. So
cool. Awesome.
Yeah, it was fantastic.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me. Excited.
I'd like to thank Lauren O'Connor for being here and telling us all about the new change. If you need help, if you want to help, or if you want to donate to Amplified Minds, just check out the website amplifiedminds.org, but you can also check out the links on the show notes. Thank you to the Deep Ellum Community Center for letting us record there. Theme song, The Place to Be by Electric Ants. You can catch the Dallas Famous podcast every Sunday at 1 o'clock on Deep Ellum Radio, and then Wednesday on all the podcast platforms. Please like, subscribe, enjoy, share, all the good things. We'll see you next time.